This is why you failed your new grad software engineering interview. If you clicked on this video, you probably recently had an interview. Unfortunately, you failed it, and you're here to figure out why and how you can just do better in your future interviews. And the strategies that I'm about to share with you in this video are literally what got me new grad software engineering offers from Amazon and Google. So here's the proof so you know I'm not just pulling this out of my ass. And I know what you're doing right now. You're just filling out applications on this new grad simplified GitHub repo, hoping for the best. You're probably just grinding through the neat code 150 and hoping for the best. But by the end of this video, you're going to understand why this is not an effective strategy. I do not recommend just blindly going through the neat code 150 pattern by pattern. That's not actually a good strategy. And you're also going to understand how to effectively use neat code to ace software engineering interviews. And this is the exact same strategy, again, that got me offers from Amazon and Google, so I know that it works. But before we get into why the neat code 150 is not the best approach, and before we get into the actual strategy of how to use it effectively, I just want to show you what interviews are starting to look like in 2026. So this is actually a Slack community that I run. Relax, I'm not trying to sell you anything here, but this is a Slack community that I run where I actually mentor students and engineers to land software engineering offers. And one of my students in the program right now, his name is Kevin. He's going through the interview process right now with XAI. So you might be familiar with XAI. It's one of the top AI labs right now. They created the LLM Grok. It's owned by Elon Musk. They're one of the competitors to Anthropic and OpenAI. And so he's going through the interview process with XAI right now, and we're kind of getting insights into how interviews are changing in 2026. And the recruiter actually told him that the interview process is going to be focused on a project deep dive and then an on-site hackathon. So no leak code, no system design. It's a totally different interview process. So right off the bat, this should be kind of a red flag for you. Interviews are changing in 2026. This is not just fear mongering. Interviews are actually changing in 2026. It's not just about grinding leak code anymore. And so just to give you a little bit more context into what's going on here, and then I promise I'll get into what you should actually do to prepare for interviews and why grinding the neat code 150 is not a good approach. I promise I'm going to get into that. But just to give you a little bit more context here, we're a full team of FANG engineers and we mentor students and engineers to get offers. And so you can see Jose, he's actually a machine learning engineer at LinkedIn. He's one of the mentors in our community and he's basically guiding Kevin on how to prepare for the interview at XAI because Jose himself recently interviewed at XAI, right? You can see here, I interviewed with them last year for an applied AI engineer role. 3 rounds after the phone screen, they asked him to code up a decision tree, then system design a recommendation system with GPU optimization, and then a debugging session on some test cases that were failing. So you can see here that interviews are literally changing in 2026, especially they started to change in 2025, and this year they're looking more and more different. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still tons of companies that do ask classic algorithm style questions, leak code style questions. They're not completely going away, but they're slowly getting phased out. And if you ever find yourself interviewing with XAI this year, trust me, save your energy. Grinding leak code is not a good use of time. All right, now into the actual topic of this video. So I did get these offers from Amazon and Google, but I don't actually recommend that you just go through the neat code 150 pattern by pattern. That's not an effective approach. And here's what I recommend instead. What you should do is just use this choose random problem button and just go through random problems through the neat code 150. And here's why. When you're just doing it the traditional way, going pattern by pattern, you do arrays, then you do 2-pointers, then you do binary search, then you do priority queue problems. Sure, that's better than not doing any kind of leak code at all. It's still like decent practice, but it's not the optimal approach. And the reason that that's not the optimal approach is because you're already being told the pattern beforehand, right? In an interview, they're not going to tell you, okay, use 2-pointers to solve this problem. Okay, use binary search to solve this problem. Okay, use a priority queue to solve this problem. They're not going to tell you that in an interview. Having gone through interviews at countless big tech companies, Amazon, Google, and several others, I can tell you that the hardest part of the interview is figuring out what pattern to use, like what type of algorithm or technique to use. And so if you're just blindly going through the Necode 150 pattern by pattern, again, no hate to Necode. He's an awesome guy. Like, this is a great resource, but if you're just going through pattern by pattern, then you're not building the skill of figuring out what the pattern is. But if you just get a random question, right, you literally just click a random problem. That's how it's going to be in an interview. They just give you a random problem. There's no context at all. You're forced to figure out what data structure to use, what algorithm to use. And building that skill is the most important thing that you need to do when you're preparing for software engineering interviews. Because let's be real, if I tell you to use a priority queue, if I tell you to use binary search, I've already eliminated half the difficulty of the question. And trust me, interviewers at big tech companies, they're not going to be that nice. They're not going to tell you, hey, use a heap, use binary search, use sliding window. They're just not going to tell you that. And so you yourself have to build the skill of actually figuring out what pattern do I use and how do I even tell that this is a binary search question? How do I even tell that this is, say, a dynamic programming question or a greedy question? That's the hardest part. So if there's one thing you take away from this video, it's that you need to be random problem maxing. Literally just click random problem, click on a problem here called N Queens, and then just try to solve it even without knowing what the actual topic is. Because once you do click on the problem here, you can see that we don't actually get told what the problem is. Now, you might know this is actually a backtracking question, but the point is you don't actually get told that. You have to just try and figure it out based on your own intuition, based on your own logic. And that's what we teach in the mentorship program as well to students like Kevin and all our other students as well. And so if you're still here, there's one more important piece of information that I want to share with you. So stay tuned for this. And it has to do with actually landing interviews at big tech companies. There's actually a new way to land interviews at big tech companies in 2026. It's not optimizing your resume. It's not reaching out to recruiters on LinkedIn. It's not trying to get referrals. It's none of those things. There's a new strategy that nobody's talking about to actually get big tech interviews in 2026. And so I've created a full video explaining that strategy and how to actually implement it, go ahead and click this video next, and I will see you there. Again, that video explains everything you need to know about this new strategy. So click that video next. It should be popping up soon, and I will see you there.